Hey, gang, this is Rob from ICMastery.com, and my job is to help each and every one of you guys get certified. So I'm here with one of my students, Cheyenne, who has a really good story. And I think it can motivate and inspire a lot of people to get into tech. So Cheyenne, would you please do me the honor of introducing yourself and just tell me a little bit about you?
Hi, so I'm Cheyenne. I did a career change into tech because I was trying to be a storyboard artist for many years and it just didn't pick up. So I did a career change and now I'm in IT. I lived in LA for a long time and now I've moved elsewhere because tech is not like place specific. As place specific anyway.
Now, as far as the storyboard stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So you say you were doing that. That's a lot more, I guess you could say, creative. It's kind of using a different part of the brain. What was the main, what was the catalyst? What was the biggest thing that made you kind of say, because I think you're still rocking out doing that as well, so doing some creative stuff. What kind of made you pivot though, as far as careers? What was the big thing?
Well, it's like heavily competition and a lot of it is, I'm not going to say it's not merit based, but it's a lot of like who you know, and with the market being so saturated in that area, especially after COVID and during COVID, because it was something you could do at home. Because in order to get in it, you have to basically have all your own equipment, be teaching yourself, 12 hours a day. It's not like it is a full-time job, even if you are not currently hired. Yeah. So that, and it doesn't like pay real great unless you get a union gig. Let's be honest, my first few gigs, I got paid less than minimum wage because I was a freelancer. And most of it is being a freelancer. Now in tech, I can be an employee because I never really wanted to be a business owner. So that and more just I could go anywhere with it, and it has more openings. It's less. I mean, there's always networking and everything, but it's less being like entertainment-y. Hollywood's hard. Even any part of Hollywood is hard. Don't let anybody tell you that it ain't. And remember, I guess there's a version of survivor's bias, like successful bias, I think is what it's called. Like the smart people tell you have a plan B. But as a board artist, freelancing so long, it's real tech adjacent. So I already had a lot of the skills. I just needed to learn like the lingo and the stuff that I didn't have to do for myself for doing it.
So that makes it sound pretty easy, right? That makes it sound like, hey, I was doing the storyboard stuff and I just went over here and just got into tech. Now, is that the truth? Or if you had how difficult or how easy was it to kind of just transition or move into a completely different direction than you were going? Was it easy? Was it hard? What you think?
I guess the story would be different for everybody, but in my case, I was already pretty tech savvy. I kind of already got it. Like when I was younger, like my family obviously didn't know how to do internet, like or computers. My mom killed like 5 computers on pirating.
Oh man!
And then blamed me playing on like Neopets.
Yeah, that LimeWire gets you every time, man.
I know. And it's like, Mom, I'm just watching stuff on YouTube. I'm not downloading anything. So like one of my stories from back then was that I actually ended up printing out directions on how to take a Russian Trojan out of my computer that my mom downloaded. So so I like printed it out, got inside had part of my computer open and was in the BIOS doing stuff. So I've always been pretty tech savvy, and I was able to take stuff apart when I was like 3. I'm like, yeah, let me take my toys apart and let me put them back together. Because I'm always interested in how things work and why they work.
Gotcha.
Part of what makes me a good story person, it's what makes me a good tech person.
Awesome.
And now I teach people how to do tech stuff, sort of. I'm
We'll
help desk.
get into that in a minute. I'm proud of you. We'll get to you in a minute. So
I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, you did. You did.
Okay.
And there's no time limit, no wrong answer. So, if you want to expound on anything, you definitely can.
Right.
Now, one thing you brought up, right, is you brought it up a couple of times. Tech savvy, tech savvy. I'm tech savvy. I did this, I did that. Now, to get into tech, to get into IT, in your opinion, do you need to be tech savvy, or do you think anybody can do it, or what does that look like?
I think anybody can probably do it, but it's probably harder if you didn't already have an interest in it, because you need to have pretty good problem solving skills. Like, because sometimes what you think is the problem isn't actually the problem, So like, for example, and this probably isn't the greatest story to tell, but my computer a few weeks ago, right? It was when it was falling, and this was after I had taken apart and put a new case in. Like, that's my old case back there. I now have a smaller one where it fits in my new desk. But I had to, so I put all the stuff in, plugged it all in, and then all of a sudden I couldn't put it to sleep. And I also couldn't turn my computer off. So I was like, what? So I had to try to figure out how to get it to start back up. And for a little while, I thought it was maybe because I didn't put the stuff back in, because I had to go back into the back end of it. And so I accidentally, like, sometimes computers kind of end up getting a little bit of spills, like not spill stuff in it, but like they get a little impact damage trying to get to the back. And then that started the computer. I'm like, oh, weird. And then I got real busy. I wasn't able to actually get in and fix it and kick my cats, do the whole thing. Because actually getting into a computer, you want to like try to stop all the static things, whatever. Watch the videos. They'll teach you all the things that were just in that, whatever. And then like last week, I found out there was like something in my settings had changed with an update, right? Where it was turning my computer off when it goes to sleep. And so that's why it wasn't starting, was because it was getting to some kind of loop where it wouldn't actually start. So and that was after I had replugged and plugged everything back into the motherboard. And so then I found the setting, but that's an example of, it ain't always what you think it is.
No,
because it wasn't loose plugs inside of the computer. It was Windows being Windows. But that's an example of being tech savvy, being able to look different ways. And
when you were going through the storyboard stuff, you obviously loved that. You loved doing it. What was like the first step? What was the first step that you took when you were trying to get into IT? What was the first thing you did, if you can remember?
I looked and saw what I had to do, because there is unfortunately a gender bias inside of tech.
Okay.
There is. It's harder to get hired when you look female. So I had to go paper up. I had to be extra qualified so that when I show up, people know what I'm talking about, so they don't just look at the next dude who's next to me and be like, is she right? That sort of thing.
Let's talk about that. Let's go a little bit deeper. So why would you say, or why do you think there's a gender bias?
Mostly because anytime I've tried to help anybody with tech and a guy is standing next to me or around me or anywhere, so that person will then go look at the man to see if I'm right. Or the person who's presenting as a man, see if I'm right. Or they'll be like, do you have a guy I can talk to? Like, for some reason, girls don't know computers, apparently. I mean, the first coder was the inventor of coding was a lady. The people who put the people on the moon was a room full of mostly not white computers, not in the term we use computers for now. They were sitting there doing math. But point is, I'm sure they could do this regular computer stuff just fine.
Yep.
So like, I don't know why this is a thing. It's probably because it's a money-making business, or it's higher earners. So guys are like more guy represented. I don't know. So
I would say that, first of all, I apologize, even though I didn't have nothing to do with it, but I'm sorry that happened to you. And that is unfortunate, because it doesn't make any sense. The gender gap, the gender bias, that may be there, shouldn't be there. Because as far as I'm concerned, the women I work with, the students that I've had, like literally are some of the best students, some of the best employees, because just from my experience, they kind of can figure out the problem, understand what you're saying, be empathetic, that type of stuff, right? And then I think sometimes, unfortunately, some guys can kind of take that as weakness, I guess. But to me, that would be a strength, understanding exactly where you're coming from and being able to solve the problem and being able to be nice about it. But the good news is, Cheyenne, as you move up the ladder, that's not going to matter. Man, woman, black, white. If you know what the hell you're talking about, if you know what you're doing, they'll hire you. It'd be fine, right? So that's unfortunate, but just in general, some people are just idiots, I suppose.
Yeah, well, that was part of trying to get papered up, right? Is that you have to actually be able to prove it more than others. Like I've had some guy friends who have the same or higher up jobs than me, never needed any certs. They just knew a guy and had been the computer tech at like college where they were like, I work in printers and I know what LAN stands for. And that's the extent of what they knew. And they're just able to just like walk in. I wasn't able to just walk in. So that's why I needed the papers, and I'll need more papers.
Got you.
You have to be extra qualified.
So anybody that's listening to this, right? So Cheyenne brought up something. In general, I would say that you definitely need to, it's going to suck if you're on the other end of it, but your network is important, because that happens a lot in a lot of different industries. It may not be the most qualified person. It may not be the most certified person. It may not be the smartest person. It may be, hey, I know your cousin and you're married to such and such. So if you have a good network, and then on addition to that, have the skills and education, it makes things a lot easier, I would think.